The galaxy expected a speech. What they got was a word. The grand conclave of clans had gathered on Vela Prime, a city world with a skyline sharp enough to cut clouds and an ego even sharper. 1,000 banners fluttered in the winds of the arena, a swirling storm of cloth, light, and holographic sigils, each representing a species, a tribe, a dynasty. Every delegate waited for the same thing, to laugh at the human. Kieran stood at the center of it all, in a tailored earth suit, hands folded politely behind his back, smiling as if he were about to sell them life insurance rather than address the most dangerous assembly in the galaxy. "Esteemed delegates," began the master of ceremonies, a six-eyed insectoid whose thorax glittered with ceremonial jewels, "you demanded proof of this species' worth. You demanded to hear what claim the humans would make before the clans of the galaxy. The floor is theirs." Kieran stepped forward. He looked very small, compared to the warriors with their plasma halberds and chitin armor. Small, fragile, unimpressive. He cleared his throat, and then he said a single word. The translators hiccuped. The sound rippled across languages, across frequencies, across minds. It wasn't just heard, it was understood. A word humans had carried quietly, secretly, waiting for this moment. The banners fell. All of them. From the Shastri Star Dynasty's golden standard to the blood-stained flayed hides of the Kroth war tribes, every flag lowered as if yanked by invisible hands. 1,000 clans, 1,000 histories, 1,000 legacies, bowing in silence. The crowd erupted in panic. "What sorcery is this?" shrieked a reptilian elder. "Impossible!" hissed a crystalline emissary. "The banners cannot fall," shouted another, before realizing his clan's own standard lay at his feet. Kieran simply adjusted his cuffs. "Well," he said cheerfully, "that worked better than expected." The conclave's guards stormed the arena, weapons raised. The insectoid master scuttled forward, mandibles clicking furiously. "What have you done, human? What word did you speak?" Kieran tilted his head. "A word you buried. One your ancestors taught us, before you thought us irrelevant. A word that binds loyalty across blood and banner. You forgot it. We didn't." The silence that followed was thick enough to drown in. Aliens exchanged glances. Some trembled. Some snarled. But all of them knew the truth. What had just happened was impossible without legacy. Without right. Without something older and deeper than politics. Kieran smiled. "You see, on Earth we have a habit of remembering old debts. And apparently, so do you." The rising panic turned into war in miniature. Half the clans demanded the human's execution. The others argued for his coronation. Fleets began to reposition across the void. Assassins whispered into comms, preparing to strike. But through it all, Kieran remained unfazed. He ate calmly at the council's feast, commenting on the alien cuisine with diplomatic politeness. "These roots are delightful," he told a hulking four-armed warrior. "Reminds me of potatoes, though ours don't usually glow. At least not the edible ones." The warrior scowled. "You dare speak so casually when your word has unsettled empires?" Kieran dabbed his lips with a napkin. "Empires are always unsettled. That's why humans invented chairs." The warrior didn't get the joke. Few did. But Kieran didn't need them to laugh. He just needed them to listen. The first attempt came at midnight. Assassins, shadows in the palace corridors, blades poisoned with toxins designed to melt bone. They crept into his quarters, confident the frail human was asleep. They found him waiting. "Good evening," Kieran said, seated with a cup of tea steaming gently in his hands. "You're late. I was beginning to think galactic assassins didn't value punctuality." The fight lasted 30 seconds. That wasn't because Kieran was faster, though he was, unervingly so, but because he didn't kill them. He simply stopped them. Disarmed, tripped, cuffed with restraints he seemed to conjure from nowhere. When the guards arrived, the assassins were neatly lined against the wall, glaring. Kieran sipped his tea. Terribly sorry for the mess. I'll leave them in your care. Though if you're taking suggestions, the one on the left needs more practice. He hesitated. Hesitation is death. The guards were pale. They had expected a weakling. They had found something else. By dawn, word had spread. The human was untouchable. The human was dangerous. The human carried a word that bent banners and clans alike. And worse, he was smiling about it. The climax came when the conclave nearly tore itself apart. Armies massed in orbit. Fleets activated weapons. Factions screamed at one another, demanding either his crown or his corpse. The galaxy stood one heartbeat from civil war. Kieran walked into the chamber as if he were entering a Sunday brunch. Come. Polite. His shoes clicked softly on the marble floor. Friends, he said, this is all a terrible misunderstanding. The chamber erupted. Misunderstanding, roared a Threxian warlord. You have enslaved our banners with a word. You are the heir of the first sovereign, cried a Zalek matriarch. You are a fraud, shrieked another. Kieran raised a hand. The room fell quiet. Not because they respected him, not yet, but because they were afraid of what another word might do. Perhaps you misinterpret, he said gently. Perhaps the word was never mine. Perhaps it was yours. Humanity simply remembered it for you. The silence stretched. He let the pause linger, let the fear soak in, then smiled wider. Or perhaps you're right. Perhaps I am your sovereign. The difference, my friends, is irrelevant. Because either way. He gestured toward the windows. The stars lit up. Human fleets, silent, patient, cloaked until now, materialized across the void. Not attacking. Not threatening. Just waiting. Dozens. Hundreds. A web of steel and firepower encircling the world. Gasps filled the chamber. Some delegates collapsed. Others scrambled for comms. Kieran's voice was silk over steel. Either way, you're already in our story. And we humans, we are very good at finishing stories. That was the final twist. The galaxy thought humanity had stumbled into destiny. That a word had slipped from human lips by chance. That banners had fallen by accident. But it had been the plan all along. Humanity had studied their myths, traced their forgotten legacies, and unearthed the one word that could topple empires. And then they sent Kieran, not a soldier, not a king, but a tactician with a smile sharp enough to cut galaxies. The banners had fallen, yes. But so had the illusion that humans were prey. The galaxy would never laugh at them again. Because humans didn't just fight wars. They rewrote the rules. And sometimes, they only needed one word.